We didn't expect to reach our pinnacle so soon, but episode 32, and we're topping out today with a very special guest.
Yes.
Chad Pearson.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Yeah, welcome.
We're excited, dude. Thank you for coming and change the studio today, Zach's house.
Yeah.
So
we have a lot of studios.
Yeah, so if you see any little four-eyed munchkin running around, that's Zach's adorable daughter, Cambria.
Yeah, she better not.
The kids have been warned.
Yeah, the kids have been warned. Yeah.
Get slapped.
Excited today.
Yeah, me too. We've been talking about this for a few weeks. But, Chad's a very popular guy, so it's hard to get on his schedule.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of what we're going to look at today for what we're going to run through, we'll get into Chad's background a little bit.
Yep.
And then you got a couple of different things going on, some philosophies on coaching and stuff, how you train, and then anything else you want to add at the end.
All right.
Yeah, we're excited, dude. But before we get started, do you mind if we got a little gift for you?
Oh, yeah.
So we'll explain it. So yeah, here you go. You can open it now. It's super small. Yeah.
All right.
So we hear that
Yes.
you're.
This is the green lid. Yes, monster.
Yeah.
That is it.
I was looking forever for the watermelon, and I couldn't find it. I wouldn't expect this color to be associated with watermelon.
Oh,
but it is. Yeah. And then this book. Have you heard of this book?
I have not.
So this is a book that I read a while back, and you'll read it and you'll be like, huh. Kind of gimmicky philosophies, but it goes into Tom Brady, Serena Williams, some of their training modalities.
Okay.
And I know that your current full-time job is working with operators.
Mm-hmm.
You also have your own business with general population. When I was training general population, I constantly had people being like, well, always coming to me with what the elites do, right? Oh, I saw Tom Brady did this. And I was just like, what? And so this book I read, and it goes into basically all of those professionals' routines. And a lot of it is gimmicky, but I figured it might give you some more understanding of what they do, so you can communicate with your clients better and things like that. And there are a couple good nuggets in this book of, training as you get older.
Okay.
So
I'm pumped.
I see those gray hairs.
Yeah,
I'm just
joking. I'm getting plenty old.
But yeah, so we appreciate you coming on the podcast.
And
we get you
this monster just changed.
Yeah, let's go. Crack it open.
Lucky viewers today.
Yeah,
get all the energy.
Yeah, I'm excited. So we appreciate you, man.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, we really do.
Well, before you jump in and give us like a little bit of your background, the first thing,
that crack, baby.
Music.
I prefer beer, but energy drinks are good too.
So Chad and I first met when I got hired to work in the annex.
Yep.
Explain the annex if you can.
I don't think you can.
You have a clearance for that.
Okay,
I don't think
cool.
you can.
Yeah.
It's one of those.
It's that cool,
ineffable
stuff.
type of.
It's not so much a place. It's a state of mind.
I agree. Well said.
Yeah, it's different now, obviously.
Because neither of us are there.
Mm-hmm.
JC, the
lone survivor.
I feel so privileged to be sitting at this table with the cool guys.
Yeah, the two. That's a wisdom.
I couldn't process. I've never been called that before.
Zach.
Brother.
But so you've been in the tactical sector for like almost 3 years,
almost 5 years.
But when I came
yeah.
But prior to that, director of football, like a bunch of different places. Talk to us about the professional background real quick.
Yeah. So the first 15 years, college athletics, and primarily football. Kind of did the whole thing, internship, University of Iowa football while I was still in college. I was a college football player, also ran track. That was my off season.
Cool.
We didn't have a strength coach, so I stayed busy.
Yeah.
I just ran. I was a sprinter.
Iowa, what years were you in Iowa?
It was the summer of 2004.
Man, so that's is that peak Iowa, or is that before they started getting good?
That was.
Defense top 10.
Well, they were very, very good.
Yeah.
Chris Doyle was the head guy there, so
yes,
that was my big window, my big ticket to the window there. So he took me on through basically a high school football coach's connection. Hey, this guy's he's a good athlete, but he's a good character. It was all character stuff. I didn't know shit at the time. So knew nothing, took a chance, did a good enough job there. So when a GA spot opened up, grad assistant job opened up at Southern Illinois in Carbondale, I somehow got that job with, an 8-month internship behind my belt with Eric Klein was head strength coach. Jerry Kill was head football coach.
Cool.
And there we worked. I was, assistant for football, assistant for basketball. I had men's and women's tennis. I had the cheer and the dance. I had baseball.
Cheer and dance, baby.
Yeah.
Right there with you. Yeah, that's what I had in my GA too.
Oh, man. And then, football team was went to the national semifinals.
Okay.
Very, very good team. The basketball team went to the Sweet 16 that second season there. So
Wow.
they were very, very, very good. That head football coach, Jerry Kill, got the Northern Illinois University job out of the MAC.
Okay.
Took over a program there, was kind of struggling. By the third year there, we were 11-2, 11-3, something like that.
Wow.
Had beaten a Big Ten team, University of Minnesota, coincidentally, and then we got hired at the University of Minnesota for football there. So at Northern Illinois, I was working multiple sports again. It was football. It was the same thing. It was baseball, softball, wrestling, women's basketball, you name it, all the sports. And then when Minnesota came along, it was just football.
Okay.
And we were there for 6 years, 6 full seasons. Coaching change happened at the end of that one, and we all kind of spread our wings. So the coaching staff that we were together for 11 years at those 3 schools, and a lot of us stuck together for that. And there was coaches that were, 20 years together before that. So after that one, joined Coach Tom Arth at University of Tennessee, Chattanooga. We joined him there for 2 years. Then he got the University of Akron job, which was close to Cleveland, which is his hometown.
Okay.
So it was a good job for him to take. And we just kind of struggled there. Did 1 season, and that's when COVID kicked off.
Oh, yeah.
And that was me spending time with the monsters all day long. My monsters as in the 2 children that are probably going to end up
running through.
As I told them not to.
When you were at Chattanooga, what years were you there?
2017 and 18.
So my buddy played football for Weber State. Did you guys play?
Did not play.
Okay, because we went down to UNC or University of Tennessee Chattanooga for a playoff game.
Okay.
And they waxed Weber State. But I specifically remember there was this drill girl, and Maya, my wife, and I joke about it. She was enormous. So poor girl, a bunch of small drill girls, and she was so far off. She kept dropping her rifle, and it was like we were all we felt bad for her, but just you can't help but laugh at it a little bit. Yeah. So I will always have a sweet spot in memory for Tennessee Chattanooga for that. Watching my buddy get his ass whooped and watching an obese girl throw a rifle and really struggle with it. So
Chattanooga was an awesome place to live. We loved it there. We loved Minneapolis. We, as in my wife and I. Our kids were born in Minneapolis, and then quickly moved. We did the whole thing. The coaches in college football, it's season's over here right about now, end of December. And then these guys are probably going to start their winter conditioning next week, if not the following week. January 6th, January it's going to be the 13th. Yeah. These teams are already starting next year already, and so it's like, hey, just got hired. I'm leaving here Friday. I start work on Monday. Yeah, we got recruits coming in. So I don't know how 4 times that I just up and left. My wife and her mother would come, and they'd pack the house. They'd sell the house. They'd do all the things. And then one of those times from Minnesota to Chattanooga, Ronan, my oldest son, was 18 months old, and my wife was 9 months pregnant with Jack. I moved 1,000 miles away. And this was the time.
That's tough.
It was Super Bowl Sunday when the Patriots were down 28-3 to the Falcons. I remember it all, right? Because I missed it if I was in an airplane. But I was coming back. So I was in Minneapolis to see the family sell the house or something like that. And I was like, hey, I'm going to be back in 3 weeks for the C-section. This is planned. This is good to go. Yeah. Boom, boom, boom. Just keep that baby until I get back. I land in Chattanooga, get a phone call. She's in labor. So I turn right back around to the ticket booth. I need to fly right back to Minneapolis. Unfortunately, missed his birth. I was in the Chattanooga terminal.
Oh, man, I'm sorry to hear that. That's tough.
Yeah. Missed his birth. Made it back because he, I don't know, it was like 9 or 10 a.m. Yeah. He was in the NICU. So this is, I'm getting very detailed, but he was in the NICU. He was almost an 8-pound baby in the NICU because he was 3 weeks early and his lungs weren't developed. But he's out there like Hercules, ripping shit out of his body. These other things are a pound, less than a pound, and some monsters in there. So had I even been there, I wouldn't have been able to see him as much. So it was okay. That's my way of justifying. And that kind of hurt. That still hurts me that I missed that birth. And because that's part of like that coaching world is like, yeah, I'm all about my family, and we'll get into this. Like, it's the family first, but it's like, that's never first.
Yeah.
It's always the team and this current
Yeah.
group of teenagers that you're chasing around. But
especially for football, man. I think a lot of our listeners are casual listeners. You know, we talk about collegiate strength and conditioning all the time, but like the schedule, especially with football and basketball. Basketball,
Revenue
don't
sports.
plan to be home for Thanksgiving or Christmas.
Yep.
Right. And
Yep.
football, dude, like people don't understand, like, yeah, seasons, you know, games are September to December or January, but the off season, man, like you said, 1 week break.
Yeah. Let's dissect that a little bit. So college football is a beast.
Yeah.
Let's start from June, right? That's summer training's kicking off. From June, you got 8 weeks, and you're going 6 days a week.
Yeah.
Because Monday through Friday, you're busy all day long. Saturday's going to be camps. You're out there. If it's not camps or some sort of recruiting function, you're doing that. So that's 6 days a week for 8 weeks. And then as soon as August comes up, it's camp. Right?
Yeah.
So they report for camp, and you are at the facility for 16 hours a day. You know, and it is just, it's all day. Hard. And that's going to be 30 straight days. You might get a surprise day off, but it is 30 straight days where you're at the facility and you're there all day long, which of course just takes you to week 1.
Yeah.
All right. So now you're talking week 1, you got a 12-week season. And this is, you know, college football has 105 to 125 kids on a roster. You know, so if it's
a lot of
Monday,
bodies.
We've got groups training on Monday morning, whether it's the, probably the non-travel, the redshirt kids, right? So there's groups on Monday, practice in the evening. All right. Then Tuesday, you got your other groups. Wednesday, you got your travel squad. There's somebody lifting 5 days a week.
Yeah.
If it's a Saturday home game, I'm running the red shirt Saturday morning, 6 a.m. Before the game. You know, we like to keep them out of trouble so we don't let them sleep or stay up too late Friday nights.
Which means you don't sleep.
Which means I'm even there even earlier. I'm there at 5,
right.
With our staff, and we're there at 5 for that red shirt run. Game might be at 7 p.m., but, that's what we're going to do. So I just stay there all day long.
On a Saturday.
Then the Sunday, if it's home, you wake up, you go to the office around 11, the guys lift, and then they have some walkthrough, run-through stuff. So it's 7 days a week. Now, the hard part's an away game. If, you leave, I go in Friday morning because we got a 6 a.m. lift group on Friday morning. That goes right into the walkthroughs, the plane trip, the meals. You're on the road. You're at the hotel Friday night. Game, all your game stuff Saturday, which, again, if you're in an away game, it's just spent all day in a hotel. Yeah. I love playing early games, 11 a.m.s and noons, because you just wake up, eat, and go.
Yeah.
Then you get home at a decent time. If you're playing afternoons or evening games, it's just you're at the hotel all day long, it seems like.
University of Utah would play at 8:30 constantly.
That's tough. And then if it's away, you fly home after the game, and now it might be 2 a.m., 3 a.m.
Yeah.
You go to bed, sort of, and then you're back at the office at 11. That was that, and I did not think anything strange of it for 15 years. That was my goal. That was what I was chasing. That's what it was the logos on my shirt. I felt cooler because I had a Big Ten logo. I was smarter, better looking, better coach because of that. That was all that stuff, right? But that, I believed that's what it took to just be this coach, or this perception of this coach that I thought was what I was and what I was supposed to be. And then it was when COVID happened, I realized that, man, that is just dumb.
That's the pits, dude.
So it was, I removed myself. And so COVID 2020, it was like March when kids were out of school or their little daycare, spending all day with them. It was fun. I was like, well, this is time I'm not going to get back. Because as soon as this thing's over, whatever it is, it's back to me doing that full-time stuff. So I was like, well, I'm just going to embrace it. This, the Pearson School for Troubled Boys, running that during the day. And then the opportunity that came up with the current people I'm with. Am I allowed to say anything?
I don't know.
Okay, well,
I haven't.
We typically just say operators. We're vague and just say certain groups of operators.
Yeah. The job I work with now popped up.
Yeah,
and took that chance. Told the wife, like, hey, let's move one more time.
Dude, your
to
wife's
stop moving.
A beast.
Yeah, and she's been lucky enough. She's been able to find good jobs, but she's never found the best job yet because she's made more money than me all the way through, but she's still, she has still tracked along. So it was this, hey, and it's like, hey, it's also a pay cut, but you trade off family time for the financial piece. And it was like, it's a no brainer for us.
Yeah.
If you can take that percentage of a pay cut and have that much more family time. So we kind of took the risk. She didn't have a job lined up, but then, fast forward a little bit and she found an amazing job loves the people she works with, great spot. It's been everything I want. I coach the kids in everything, probably too many things. That's probably, we have some of our issues, but that was the big thing, is that I've lied to myself for so long thinking that, this is a kind of segue, but I don't want to jump ahead of that.
No, go ahead. Wherever goes.
Why I coach. So
you keep talking.
The evolution of why I coach starts, it's a timeline of my children.
Yeah.
All right. So when I first started, I was 22 years old, still an athlete minded, everything there. But it was like, I'm going to use this job because adversity makes better men.
Yep.
That adversity of waking up early, this adversity of this hard run we have, this lift, whatever this exercise that I have to do, it's all adversity. Yep. The barbell is adversity. I'm like, well, the more I can face adversity head on, I'm going to make better men. Byproduct is better football players. Byproduct of that is winning more games, more success. That was like my why. It's like, I want to present, and I was all for the adversity of training and what that does for these young men. And it was women, but primarily I speak in like that football mindset.
That was your priority. Everything else was just kind of necessity.
However you want to put it. But so that was the first why. That's what motivated me to stay accountable to the program, to the team, to those guys. I coached them hard because I wanted that outcome.
Yeah.
And then 2015, my first son was born. Then it was like, man, this kid I'm coaching could be my son's boss someday, could be his coach someday, could be his leader in his community someday. So I was like, well, now we talk about discipline and being on time and doing these things and doing it right. Like, I'm forcing these young men to do that because I want them to be good role models for my kids.
Yeah. Right.
Like, they're the ones who are going to be leading the communities. Like, that's where my mind was like, I am doing my kids a favor by putting all my effort and energy into these guys, because they're going to be the future. And then it was like, then this opportunity came up with my current position, where then I realized, well, instead of preaching what a good man and enforcing what a good man and husband and father is, like, just go be it.
Yeah.
So I left that world. And as soon as I did, it was like the lights went on, that I just removed myself from that situation, of that job and that position and that title, and all this weight kind of lifted off. And it's just like, man, that is so backwards. And then you hear coaches speak, like preseason, postseason, it's all the same coach speak, like cliche stuff. And it's like, man, I know that feeling of that loss. Like, am I going to have my job on Monday because we lost a game? A bunch of teenagers didn't do what they were supposed to do and lost to some other teenagers. And now are my wife and family going to have to move because of it? Like, that was a real thing. And so it was stressful. You know, my wife didn't even watch a lot of the away games or games because of like the stress.
Yeah.
That's just what it was. And that first season of football out, I didn't watch a single snap of professional college football.
Really?
I was not disgusted, but I was just like, I'm over it.
Maybe a little bitter.
I don't even know if bitter is the right word. Just over it.
Smoked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just smoked. And there was good people. I worked with some phenomenal people, amazing people. But then it's like, man, they're still living that lie. Right? It's all about the family man this, the family man that, the kids and wife and yada, yada. And that's like, well, is it?
Meanwhile, strength coaches are sleeping with track athletes and like horrible
habits, horrible marriages, people moving, families not going with, like, it's very tough.
Yeah.
And so that transition, again, just long-winded myself here.
No, that's what this thing's for.
It was to coach. It was, was not so longer to make you a better man, but I decided, well, I just need to make myself a better. Like, I'm going to go be that husband and father. And so my current why, working with the guys I work with now and the population I work with now, is that I want these guys to come home to their family.
Yeah.
Like, my biggest why is that I hold them accountable to training, to working hard, to doing it right, and like doing it the way it should be done for the longevity of their careers, so that A, they come home to their families.
Right.
B, they come home more frequently and for a longer duration to their families. And then, of course, there's always the good, happy hormones and chemicals that happen from regular exercise.
Yeah.
Right? So if regular exercise is a normal thing for these guys, then maybe some of those other bad things you hear about in a military life, that just maybe they go down.
Yeah.
And so that's my big why now is, of course, I'm living this life of the husband and father I want to be, I'm trying. Let me rephrase it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be the husband and father I want to be. But I'm also, I'm making sure that the guys I work with, my why is that they come home to their family and give them the tools and the resources that they have. And that's important to me, because I know what it's like now to come home and I pick my kids up from school every day.
Yeah.
That's huge. Yeah. Like I said, I coach them in football, I coach them in baseball, I coach them in jiu-jitsu, I coach them all day at home and I pick them up from school, it seems like.
Yeah.
But I love it. It's frustrating. And I think the linear progression of gray hairs on my head plus taking this job are like, they're very concurrent with each other.
Yeah.
But so yeah, that is a big one that we just covered a lot of ground on my career progression, but also the why I coach progression and kind of the timeline of my life.
It's interesting that like as we get started, strength and conditioning, as you can hear from the first 15 minutes of this, is so much more than fitness.
Yeah.
Right. We talk about like linear progression. We talk about certain modalities to reach certain physiological adaptations. A good coach, those are, that's the information, but a good coach is concerned with far more than that. Right. That's what separates good professionals from great. Right.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting to hear you talk like about that right off the bat.
Yeah.
Right. Because it's about so much more than, running and lifting and things like that.
Yeah. And it's kind of like you could look at every amazing physique.
Yeah.
You're going to find one who's keto. You're going to find one who's vegan.
Yeah.
You look at any successful sports program, you're going to find one who's run by strength coach A.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they, used to be like a lot of HIIT and machine-based teams. Like they didn't touch barbells.
Yeah.
Well, they were still pretty damn good.
Yeah.
Then you had your very Olympic side, those cleans and form, like every single day. They were pretty good too.
Yeah.
It's like we all had the right answer.
Yeah.
Maybe some had some more success than others. It meant nothing. One of my most successful off seasons was with a team that went 0-12.
Really?
Yeah. So University of Akron, right? They had some challenges, obviously. But my off season, we had a 4% increase of team average of speed. Yeah. So I did 20s. I did electric 20-yard sprints.
Yeah.
And so very consistent with how we did it. We had a 4% increase.
That's great.
Yeah, that's massive.
For like numbers, if I remember correctly, let's just say you take somebody who runs a 4.75 and you make them 4% better. They're like 4.45.
Yeah.
You went from undrafted to possibly first rounder, but that's a 4%, whatever those math, whoever's listening, don't do the math. It's close to
that. I mean, when you're talking about speed, you're talking about hundredths and tenths of seconds making a big difference.
4% is massive.
Yeah.
But the problem was I was taking 5 flat receivers and making them 4.7. So, and I'm not an insult. That's an exaggeration. It's not an insult to the guys.
Yeah.
That's just a matter of the talent and people we had at this school versus Alabama, Georgia. It's recruiting.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do.
And all of the shady stuff that goes into recruiting.
Yeah. As in my best professional career as far as performance metrics, we went 0-12.
Wow.
So
I think that goes to we've talked about this topic before, and we and I have talked about this topic before of strength coaches that just spend too much time patting themselves on the back and their impact. We're general prep. Ever since Nebraska, now it's something you have to do.
Yeah.
And so long as you do it appropriately, and there are I think the good strength coach, most people go, oh, well, they made their team better. I would say no, it's their ability to tailor their modality, their training to whatever the weaknesses are of the team to improve them.
100%.
That's not the dude's good or he's not good at catching the ball. Me doing whatever I'm doing in the weight room's not changing that.
Yeah, it's a matter of can he catch the ball good in week 1 and week 12 all the way through.
1,000%.
That's more indicative of
strength program.
Yeah, and in college, it's smart to separate college and pro because the pros have this great idea of giving them a time off for a month before they start camp.
Right.
For their agreements, which I haven't lived in that world, but it's like if I take training, if I'm the strength coach and I let them do whatever they want for a month before they arrive, well, chances are they might be working hard, yes, but they're doing the wrong things, the wrong volumes, the wrong amplitudes, the wrong durations, whatever. And then we wonder why Achilles and ACLs are so drastic the first 2 weeks of reporting for camp.
Right.
It's like, well, we took out of the coach's hands and, but.
It's the same thing with the way guys that in all of the areas that we work in now, it's so your operational right out of whatever your selection was the first time you're on a team and you're 28, 27 or whatever, but how do you look at 35?
Yeah. And we have those.
Yeah.
You know, this population that we work with now is much older. And so that really matters. They can't do the same things that they did and expect the same results.
Right.
They're just going to end up beat up and hurt. So
and we see a lot of dudes like that.
It's got to evolve. Yeah.
How does that okay, so that path and everything like on the professional side, but now you also are running, so you have that demographic and your why, but now you have Ronan as well. How did that start and how does that kind of like fit into that approach?
Yeah, side business, Ronan Sport Performance.
Yeah.
So let's start with the name. So a Ronin is a kind of like a masterless samurai, a wandering samurai. And you've known me for a while. That kind of this samurai affinity for a long time. And then so my thing was like, hey, I've been tied to a coach for 15 years. My career has been tied to somebody else, the sport coach for 15 years. I've gone where he's gone. And Ronan does not have a master, whether by choice or by death or by whatever. He's on his own. And that was kind of my start with, this is a clever little name here.
Yeah.
I'm starting my own thing, kind of by myself, learning as I go. I didn't know anything about my website still sucks because I don't.
It's really good. I think it's good.
I haven't looked. I'll go look at it.
It is good.
It's all I've gotten lots of help, but it wasn't like, hey, it's not like I had an investor.
Yeah.
It hasn't been any of this stuff. Just like, hey, just do your thing. Here's all. Don't worry about it. It's like I've had to grassroots this thing. And I started pretty much right when I got here, when I got to North Carolina. And it was basically because
the free time problem.
The free time. I was like, I've got 40 extra hours per week. What am I going to do now? And it was like, I still have a ton of experience, a ton of expertise, and a desire to still share. Right? I'm sitting on a wealth of information from the coaches and people I've been with for 15 years. It's like, man, if I'm just working with this population, I can't really can't share. I can't share things. And so I was like, well, I'm sitting on a ton of information and value. I need to find a way to market it, present it, and provide it. And so Ronan Sport Performance has evolved a lot. And I don't know if it's been 4 years. It might be, but it was more so like, I'm going to take these elite athletes and do really cool stuff. Yeah. And kind of did that a little bit. I worked with a UFC fighter, I was in his corner twice.
That's cool.
It was super cool.
That's a cool experience.
It was really, really fun. That was awesome. We did our 8-week camp a couple times with him. That experience was top notch. That was so cool to do that and to be in the corner and to see some of the, meet some of the people, do some of that stuff. That was really neat. And that was kind of like, well, I'm going to work with this. And I had some athletes that I was still kind of working with. Yeah. And that was like, well, that's what I want. And then I kind of dove into a little bit more like the local community. Yeah. Tried to do some stuff with our jiu-jitsu people and kind of run some almost fitness, group package type stuff. So hey, we're going to meet X number of days a week for this number of weeks. Yeah. And kind of, at this spot and did that a couple times. And what I was, again, realizing is that I'm just still feeling that time void. It's like, well, it's not really, I don't want to make more money by having to spend more time. Right. Because that's the whole purpose. That defeats, and wife had to remind me that a couple of times. This defeats the purpose of you getting out of working 60 to 70 hours a week. If you're going to work 60 to 70 hours a week, that's a good point. And so then it kind of got into the remote coaching. I use Bridge Athletic or Bridge Tracker as the app. Dove into that world, and then realized that that remote programming, that remote coaching, the accountability piece is kind of really, really beneficial. And I have been trialing to keep dialing in that market, so that demographic, and it's interesting how things have kind of ebbed and flowed of who I kind of market to, and for what I provide. And so what Team Ronan is kind of like the package, and what it is not a get shredded in 6 weeks package. It's not. Guaranteed.
It's in 4 weeks.
It's not this. And I had somebody ask me this
4 weeks, baby.
They're like, hey, why don't you do more of the quick before and after? It's like, well, that's not really what I'm doing. I'm not trying to get the quick, before and after 30-day, 90-day stuff. Yeah. Because, there's that quote, early to ripe, early to rot.
Yeah.
That's what I'm afraid of. And so the market that I'm hitting now is basically it's dads, it's us, anywhere from 35 to 50.
Yeah.
And I have a bunch of females and wives and mothers, right, that are doing the programming that I coach with, and they're phenomenal. But the market is like the middle-aged man, the guy who maybe was athletic at one point. He wants to work out. He's been doing the same high school workout since high school. Yep. He's 35, 40 years old.
Yeah.
Not having any results or success. He keeps, not to put down anybody else in this room, but keeps repeating week one.
And keeps getting hurt.
Week one forever.
Can't figure out why I'm not making these gains. But all the other things are just not lined up. And so for me, it was like, well, my market is somebody who's got some account or got some discipline that is going to show up. They just need to know what to do. Mm-hmm. Let me take the thinking out of it, and let's work long term, right? If this is the tipping point we've talked about, like 3 months is kind of my tipping point. Once I get people through 3 months, they're either gone, they're just done, or hey, this thing's about to just keep going. Yeah. And because what we've done in 3 months now is I focus on one thing at a time, right? So if it's somebody who struggles to work out, my goal is not to, hey, we're going 5 days a week. Yeah. We're gonna restrict calories. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do that. I'm like, no. How about we start it 2 days a week?
Complete 2 days a week for 12 weeks.
Right? And we'll start like for the month, right? We'll do like a month. So for the first 4 weeks, our only goal is to make 2 lifts or 2 workouts per week. Once we are good there, maybe that takes 8 weeks. Yeah. I had this pop up, that pop up. Couldn't get 2. Fine. Like I'm not going to worry about all the other stuff until 2 is established. Right? They're gung-ho for a week or 2. Yeah. They might even get 5 or 6 workouts in week 1. But then we know what happens. The schedules, because they haven't established those habits. All right. And so it's, hey, the goal's 4. Well, we're starting at 2. Yeah. Right. Okay. I've been really good. I've gone 6 weeks straight. I've hit 2 workouts. Excellent. We're adding the 3rd. Yeah. That's where we're going to stick. All right. Then we get to this established, and that takes time, right? These are just habits that you have to keep stacking. I have to get through different seasons and phases of life. It's summertime. Well, the kids are out of school. Like that changes things for this long term. Yeah. And that's why I don't like the short stuff, right? Because when you look at a year, like in seasons of life, seasons that, as we go, but that's what I'm looking for is that, hey, we've established these habits through times of a lot of free time in life, times of busy time in life, times of whatever, like these things that are going to pop up in people's lives. Yeah. We've navigated through them already on the longer scale. Yeah. And once we have our people, let's just say if the strength and conditioning is the biggest priority, that becomes the priority. And it's going to be compliance and just showing up. If they're set, and hey, this guy hasn't missed a workout in a year and a half. Yeah. And now he wants to focus on nutrition. Again, that's a big thing. Yeah. So we're going to, let's do the whole like food track for a week. All right, you're low on protein. For the next 3 weeks only, we are going to focus on protein. Yep. Change nothing but adding protein. Right. And then it's like, that's easier for these people just to focus on the one rather than, I'm going to increase my protein, but I got to decrease my carbs and I got to increase my water, this whole thing. And so it's established the habit. Okay. Now your protein's at 200 grams per day. Yeah. Great. Now let's address the fats. Now let's address the carbs. Now let's address whatever your calories, whatever it's going to be. But we really want to, it's habit stacking for me. It's whatever the main one is, maybe when they sign up and maybe they don't need any accountability or coaching on showing up because they're going to do it. Yeah. It's strictly like stress management or strictly nutrition, right? The main body is the workout. Yes. Yeah. But the weekly check-in, the monthly check-in that we're going to do is focused on this progression of where are you in this goal setting of your nutrition, of your sleep, of your stress management. So very individualized. And I think that's what separates Team Ronan from, any of this stuff you guys have reviewed where it's like, hey, you buy it. It's like, there you go. Right. Yeah. That's the program. Right. When you order from me, it's like, Zach has this facility. I want to train this number of days a week, which we've had that discussion, what you want, what you get. Yep. We're going to find out. This is the resources and my facility or my access. Like this is what I have. And these are my goals. Great. We sit down, we work back and forth. You get the program. I'm going to kind of look at it like a 12 to 15 week big picture and chunk you up through that window.
In phases.
Yep. We'll have modifications as we go. They have the ability to modify a few things as well, but it's like, hey, let's get through this one more block. Yeah. And then it's readdressed. Summer's coming up. right? Or a competition or something, a race, this, that, the other. Then we can start to tailor to that individual.
Yeah.
You might be completely different. He wants to go bodybuilding look. He just wants to look good. You want to perform well. Again, I've done it for 20 years, 20 something years. I have that experience and that knowledge base to be like, okay, well, this is easy for me to provide what you need, but also provide to him or her what they need. And that's probably what separates me from kind of the generic. I don't know if that's the right word.
Well, I think this to me highlights something very important that we talk about all the time. The difference was like, yeah, you go so you get a cookie cutter program from a magazine or from online or something like that. Or you bought some program like some of the ones we reviewed, right? That's a step up from just ripping it out of a mag.
Oh, yeah.
But when we talk about like the difference that people get when they really want to be committed and work with somebody, just that brief overview of like what just went on in the background for like a first meeting is the difference between having a coach. It's an entirely different product. It's an entirely different thing than like bench press 3x10, then incline bench press 3x10. Like it's just a different
infinite progress. You can't do it.
Yeah.
And the long-term stuff too is great. The guys and gals that I work with, we have those little phases of life. One guy in particular, great friend of mine, has been with me for a few years now. Like he plays beer league hockey, and he just had his first child. He got a second one coming. He's gonna be 39, right? And he wants to be fit and athletic. Had a big, huge weight loss story, which was phenomenal. A lot of that before me, right? So a lot of this just kind of the management. He just wants to feel good. He wants to be healthy and establish healthy habits for his children.
That's awesome.
And I think
that's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Like his whole purpose of working out and doing these things and what he eats in the house is for his, like, to establish these habits for his kids. And he's one that's like, hey, I got this coming up. Like, man, doing the heavy stuff. He likes to lift heavy, but it's been hurting the joints for a while. Awesome. I feel you. I know what you mean. Let's go to some volume. Let's go to some like kind of higher intensity. Like he likes to do the hard workouts without the really mental, physical strain of stuff that's heavy. Well, now it's like we come back around, 6 months, 9 months later. It's like I'm getting that itch, man. Like, he showed me a barbell this morning. I was like, he's got 365 on there for a squat, something like that.
That's great.
That's awesome.
A
39-year-old dad plays beer league hockey, and he's in the financial world. Like, that's what he does.
You're talking what, like top 5%, top 1%, top 3%?
And it wasn't a single. Like, he's not doing singles. Like, he's probably doing somewhere 5, 6, 7 reps, something like
awesome.
that.
It's awesome. I think that highlights two good points. Is one, a good strength and conditioning coach. That's what separates a good coach from like a fitness influencer or a personal trainer. Even some personal trainers are great, but they're few and far between. The range of look like a bodybuilder, live healthy lives. Those are different programming strategies. While all look similar on paper for an untrained eye, like you said, those are different things. And a good coach is going to be able to take all of that scale and move you for those goals. And like you said, like a good program is you switching around. Like you're doing bodybuilding for 8 weeks, right? You're putting on some muscle. It's a little easier on the joints. Okay, now you got the heavy itch, right? And I think that that's an important aspect of a good coach like yourself is being able to provide that, and not a lot of people can. I have a question for you on the online. Do you find that people sign up for you and struggle with they're like, oh, I haven't been lifting, but I'm ready to get it. And you say, hey, we're going twice a week for 4 weeks. And they're like, no, I need more. And you say no. And like, what does that conversation
That's about
look
a
like?
50-50 argument or a 50-50. So, one of every two that get signed up, like that's it. And it's very simple. It's like, talk me through the last 90 days, the last 30 days. What does your exercise plan look like? What is it? What has worked well? What have you been doing? Because I'm going to look at like your last 90, last 30. Those are your habits. Like, I've been getting them in here and there. Like, no.
But I'm ready to go.
Really, it's going to happen next month, this next few weeks. And so it's like, hey.
Not to knock down it, but like the biggest wave of the year is about to do this exact thing.
It's going to be it. And I'm going to say, is like, I understand you are motivated now. And you have, next week looks pretty open. You're going to nail it. I said, you're going to get all 5 workouts or all 6 workouts. There's no doubt about it. The problem is, again, you're going to be a little too, make week 2, maybe week 3, if you're lucky. Now you're really freaking sore. You bit off more than you could chew. You're not able to recover because you haven't built that body of conditioning, total conditioning. And it's like, well, now I'm skipping a day. All right, well, I skipped yesterday. Those weeks of wash, I'm just going to start again on Monday. Right?
Yeah, we've won. Let's go.
We see it all the time. Dude.
Yep.
That's my biggest challenge with online. We have an online platform too, and that's my biggest frustration is like that, right? People go, well, I want more cardio. It's like, well, you haven't finished a week of training, dude.
Yeah.
How you saying you want more cardio when you haven't even finished a week of training?
Yeah. And that, I don't get too scientific on a lot of the people. I try to keep it as like dummy proof as possible.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, if you want to get better at whatever quality, it's going to take a certain period of time.
Right.
And then it's going to take a certain period of time to even realize that you got better.
Right.
Yes.
And then it's going to stick for a certain period of time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. And some things stick and take and address longer to get there.
Yeah.
Like your aerobic and your max strength, like they take longer to build.
Right.
But they're going to stay a very long time.
Right.
If we're talking speed, which it's not really something I worry about anymore. I don't worry about my 38-year-old's 10-yard sprint.
Yeah. Flying 20s,
what I mean? Like
pulling hammies,
yeah,
bam.
Yeah. We're not worried about that stuff.
Yeah.
But like that's something that we want to train once a week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. It's
a tough challenge as a coach. I have found, and I found it to be a frustrating challenge. So it's interesting to hear you have that same thing. And for our listeners who do use online coaches or find themselves in that habit, right? Like that's a habit you have to break if you want to be successful over the long term. It can't be these massive sprints and like people get caught up in injury cycles constantly because of that, right?
Consistency over intensity.
Yeah.
all day long.
Yeah.
I'm going to look at it from a year. It's kind of like, again, it seems so far away.
Yeah.
But it's like if whatever I want, like a year from now is when I need to start. What body comp do I want? What body mass? What body weight do I want? In a year from now.
Right.
Not in 3 months, not in 6 weeks, not in 6 months, but like in a year from now.
Yeah.
And then what are those things going to look like that get me? Understanding I'm going to have some ebbs and flows. I'm going to have some great phases of training. Maybe I get an injury. It's going to set me back for a few weeks.
Yep.
But I'm changing things, modifying so that I'm not missing my days because consistency matters.
Yep.
Hey, Chad, I can't do squats, whatever. Something hurts.
Yeah.
Great. We're substituting for A, like A for B.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You're still squatting. You're not loading your spine.
Yeah.
Or maybe we're just doing an iso, like something, but we're still hitting the day.
Yeah.
And I would rather have them hit the day, cut the weights in half, cut the reps in half, I don't care.
Absolutely.
Like do the day, check the day.
Yep.
Right. If it's 100%, like that's amazing. We've all done this for a long enough time. Like how long have you ever done 100% of a training program start to finish? Like I'm going to do 100% in a day.
It's a massive struggle. It always has been for me.
And especially if you write your own stuff, it's like
then I never
do.
Never. It's like
I was an idiot when I was taking that.
Who wrote this?
Yeah, that's absolutely
7 exercises in a day. Nope, 4.
Yep.
Yeah. It makes me think of like when we started this podcast, we get these analytic platforms, and your general platform looks at about 10 days, and it's a lot of like this. Right. But then you go out, and we just did a year review and watch in the podcast. If you look at it, went like this.
Oh yeah.
But if you take the 10 days, it's right.
Yep.
So it's that aspect of, like you said, the weekly basis is going to do this. But if you're just consistent over time, you have this massive growth. It's the same for training and all
big
things.
picture of weight loss because of just how that works.
And that's a hard, like the weight loss is such a struggle because it's.
I like brownies. I forgot. I made brownies for you and forgot them. It's like, you forgot the brownies. I was like, shit.
You're dead.
So, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say the scale is deceptive, right?
Yeah.
I could be 200 pounds, but like my 200 pounds might be day to day. Like it could fluctuate. Like what that 200 pounds, your 200 pounds may not be my 200 pounds.
Yeah.
And that's so much more of like the scale is a thing that kind of gives you a little bit of feedback. But I'm going to say, how do you feel in the mornings? Mm-hmm. What's your energy in the afternoons and evenings? And like, how are your joints? Like this is more indicative of success than what that number on the scale 100%. Says.
Yeah.
Unless you're doing like a DEXA or something that's very detailed of your actual body composition to see some change again, 6 months, 9 months from now.
Yeah.
That scale is a liar.
Yeah.
My body weight can change 6 pounds in a day.
No doubt.
I'm one of those. I can hold and change water weight. Like,
well, it goes back to the thing you were saying before of like the massive swings in weight and it being a problem. Like, right, I'm an MMA fan. You do jujitsu and like did MMA previously, trained MMA fighter. Like when they do that last cut right before the fight, I was watching Cormier talk about his process because he did it the same way. He's a wrestler, so like very religious about his process. And the last rep, he's like, and then when we take everything off, I'm 12 to 15 pounds down.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But that's not
easy
tissue.
No.
It's water.
Yeah.
It's just depleting.
Yeah.
Depleting.
So it's like, I think that's what a lot of people like for the coaching things that get grabbed at or anything, those clickbaits, like, oh, like get jacked in 6 weeks or whatever. It's like none of that's lasting.
Yeah. I'm 9 pounds lighter than Thanksgiving. And it was just
because it was Thanksgiving.
It was Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
It was 5. It was, I mean, it's a 5 pound swing within 48 hours for me.
Yeah.
Almost daily. You know, I'll float 3 pounds every night, just
Wow.
wherever I go to bed. And I don't like to weigh myself very often, like maybe once a week. But it's like if I go to bed and I can check it right before bed, I'll lose 3 pounds.
Yeah.
And in the morning. And then that's just my metabolism. That's my physiology. I'm 215 pounds. Like that's a small percentage rather than someone who's 140 pounds.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. The scale's a liar.
Yeah.
But getting into okay, so you're checking the scale, stuff like that. One thing I know in terms of like you monitoring your own kind of progression is that you have stages that you go, like how you approach your training. Like you do jujitsu. We talk about your training leading into like a fight.
Yeah.
Do you call it a fight?
Yep.
Jiu-jitsu?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
It's who gets the medal at the end. They fight. And
It's a slap.
Slap hand. Oh, I got your rope. Oh, jiu-jitsu is bad and hot and badass and hard.
But like also like you do stages of lifting very heavy.
Yeah.
I remember you had a stage or a block that you're doing like mostly kettlebells and unilateral stuff.
Yeah.
So talk to us about like your training, what you do.
Yeah. So I will start with, was an athlete my whole life.
Right.
Right. And as I've gotten older, and I've had Achilles problems, which we've had that discussion. Like I'm not running and sprinting and jumping as much as I used to. And even like jujitsu suffered recently because of that. But like, I like to lift heavy.
Yeah.
Leaning towards powerlifting. Like, I'm not going to call it I'm a power lifter. I lean into powerlifting. And the reason for me that I do that is it's like, that is extreme mindfulness for me. Like
you enjoy it.
That's my piece. Right. When I'm this is going to sound very, I don't know, stoic, philosophical meathead, but like I'm never more at peace and in the moment than when I have 500 pounds on my back, whatever, like a maximum effort, because if I'm not in that moment, if I'm not where my feet are, that weight's going to hurt me, if not kill me. And so like nothing else in the world matters for that rep or that set. And that to me, like I could do yoga, I could meditate, I could do this, but nothing has provided more mindfulness than heavy lifting, right? Because I have to be present more than like 70%, 50%, speed work, power work. I could be thinking and doing, I could have a conversation. I'll still hit numbers. I'll still do what I'm supposed to do. It's mindless for me. Heavy shit is mindfulness for me. Like that is my thing. That's my, that's the primary.
Yeah. And it stays that because you like it. So it kind of stays there all year.
Yeah.
Right.
And what
some sort of strength
what moves in and out of there is what else am I doing?
Yeah.
If it's a jiu-jitsu competition or a super fight or what are these things?
What's a super fight?
They're kind of like, I've done a couple of these super fights where it's just predetermined matchup, me versus you. Okay. It's, 41-year-old brown belt at 205 pounds and you're a 41-year-old brown belt at 205 pounds. And we're going to, instead of entering a tournament where we may or may not sign up because there's nobody in our region.
Got it.
We kind of predetermine a fight and, they'll kind of do it
That's
way.
what you went and watched him do when I first moved here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
That was cool.
Yeah.
And those are neat events. Again, as you get older and as your belts get higher, it's harder to find competition, especially at more like local events. You go, IBJJF is a big federation for the gi, which is, the kimono pants belt.
Yeah.
That's a big federation. I did one last year in Charleston. There was like 3 guys in my division, and that's a national event.
Wow.
If I wanted to fight in Jacksonville, like there may or may not be anybody,
Yeah.
That's able, prepared, the timeline, I've had to back out of tournaments because like kids, like they're just local stuff. Like I signed up for it, but I can't do it. Kids got practice.
Yeah.
Like that's whatever.
Yeah.
And that happens a lot. And so they kind of do these super fights to kind of just, hey, it's a guaranteed match.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah. That's a good thing. If I was a 28-year-old white belt, I'm gonna have 40 people in my division, no matter what.
Right.
So
31 year old. 32?
Yeah.
32. Am I 31 or 32?
And so when I'm preparing for something specific, be it a jiu-jitsu competition or tournament, whatever, I'm going to take 4 to 8 weeks and shift my training towards that.
Okay. How does that look?
And it might look like I'm prior
randomly
to that,
choking coworker.
Yeah. It might look like 4 days. Let's just call it 4 days of heavy strength work. This is like leading up to it. Maybe I'm already doing 4 days of heavy strength work on the mats 3, 4, 5 times a week. As I get closer and we get to that 4 week 8 mark, I might take a day out, or I'm going to cut volumes in half and cut intensities down. But I'm probably going to still train 2 to 3 to 4 times a week. Probably going to go from 4 to 3 to 2, like the little taper. But my mat time's going up.
Yep.
Right, sometimes twice a day, whether it's a technique or a drilling day, followed by like some sparring or classes in the evening. And then again, my time is my time. I can't add more time to my day for more things. And so I've got to substitute one for the other, or, and I've got to understand those sacrifices. And those are even conversations with the family that have to be had. Like, I've got to train on these nights and yada, yada, when I'm doing that stuff. And that's where maybe I get out of a little traditional barbell work, and now I'm doing, maybe there's some kettlebell stuff where it's just different movement planes, different patterns, because jiu-jitsu is kind of where I get my mobility work as well, and that's just kind of, it allows me some different grip work, some different time under constant load, kind of time under tension, rather than kind of lifting and letting go of stuff or racking. It's like, well, I've got to hang on to this thing for 45 seconds, and I've got to be dynamic with this weight or whatever it may be, and objects like sandbags or sandballs, medicine balls, anything that's kind of a little bit different, so that's where I'll tailor my training towards that. And maybe I'll get into a little bit more like conditioning, Metcon, HIIT stuff, finishers, where I want 10, 15, 20 minute just hard work.
Right.
And that's going to kind of be like, that's where I get my conditioning, because that's high intensity. That's what I want to have. But all in all, like, my general fitness is going to be there. My general conditioning is going to be there because of the consistency.
Yep.
So I'm not adding mileage.
Yeah.
I might have a cardio day where I'm on the bike or the rower, but that's kind of it.
So you're working those things in the thing that we call like principle specificity, right? As you're becoming more fit in exactly what you're going to do, but you're not doing that all year. What you're maintaining all year is strength. Yeah. And then as you're approaching these events, you're adding these other elements, grip strength, conditioning.
Yep. There's certain things I can scale back. Yeah. And increase. And that's what I think keeps it interesting too. If I never change, you just get burned out of doing the same thing all the time. For sure. So whether it's maybe sometimes, I've had people sign up for, I've had clients sign up for jiu-jitsu tournaments, or I've had them sign up for 5Ks, or had a guy who's trying to do like an Ironman. Oh, dude. And like, that is motivation for them. And sometimes I'm okay with that. It's kind of sometimes fickle motivation, but like, well, if that's what you need to kind of jumpstart you into training, into like these next 6 weeks, let's do it. Yeah. Right. Because then we're gonna establish something inside that 6 weeks, and probably you like the way you feel. Right. Like, what's that one good thing you liked about that? When you're forced to do your 5K. Yeah. It's like, well, I felt pretty good. Okay, let's keep that going. Right. You don't have a 5K on the calendar, but you like feeling good.
Yeah. And you learn that you like interval running, right? Or something like that. I'm training for this. We have a triathlon in March, and then I'm doing something called the Speed Goat. Have you ever heard of that? No. So I moved to Salt Lake. It's a 32-mile run with like 11,000 feet of vert. And so like, I'm good with the vert because I grew up hiking in the mountains my whole life, but 32 miles is the furthest. I haven't never ran that. And I'm learning some things about what I like and don't like training, right? Like with this triathlon training for it, I learned I hate swimming. There's no way I'm going to continue swimming after this. Dude, the logistics of swimming, do you know how much laundry you have to do? You bring a towel. Like, where do you put your towel? Laundry? This is silly, but like, no, it's real. Yeah. You swim at lunchtime and you come up. Where do I hang my towel to dry all day? In my car. My car smells like fucking chlorine all day. Yeah. It's little things like that. Like, swimming is lame, but you find what you don't like and you find what you like through training for events like that. So that's cool.
I love that. And plus, that carries on. You're doing something that's uncomfortable. Yeah, that's true. And that still carries a lot more than just the final outcome of a race. Right. And I think that's where a lot of people still forget it, is like, it's not for nothing. Yep. Like, maybe when you get older and you can't run, you're going to have to swim. And you're like, well, I did learn this because I hate swimming so much. I learned how to make it easier. Yes. Now you're 50 and it's like, well, all I can do is swim because, so everything has its we'll have a point in a time where it's like, yeah, that I remember that how much I hated that, and it paid off.
Yep.
You know,
No doubt. I'm back on that adversity piece you talked about.
Yep.
Yeah. So like adversity, definitely a common theme. Other common themes that you think are important in people that are getting ready, maybe like this, about to start the new year with some, some new habits trying to build.
Dude, this is getting posted right at the new year.
Yeah. Habit stacking. And, there's science out there that says 21 days for a habit.
Yeah.
There's also science that says like 60 to 75 days for a habit.
Yeah.
I'm going to lean towards
the more.
that.
Yeah.
Because again, in 21 days, for the next 3 weeks, I know what my schedule looks like for the next 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know what that looks like 6 weeks after that.
Yeah. No doubt.
And so for me, it's like, that's where I have to be. It's really easy for me. I could do anything for, I don't know, maybe not. I could try to do anything for 21 days.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And it may or may not stick.
Yeah.
I've been biting my nails for, I don't know how long. And I went, I bet I went close to 90 days, almost 90 days. Like I tried, something happened. I got like an infection in my fingers. Like, I need to stop.
I remember this.
Yeah. I was like, I need to stop. And I stopped biting my nails
Yeah.
entirely.
I remember.
For almost 90 days. And then I was like, well, what's that? I was like, then not back to it. Back to where they were. Like I could almost get my nails were almost back out to the edge of my fingertips. But it was it was kind of like I had to stop.
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, okay, let's just do this. Let's have a little discipline habit here and see who's in charge here, myself or my tendencies. But then, at the end of that, it's like, it still didn't work.
Yeah.
I went almost 90 days. And so I'm trying to redo 40 years of something in 90 days. So as anybody's picking up a new year, new me, 2025 habit, think back. What is the last 30 days? What is the last 90 days?
Yeah.
What does the last 10 years look like?
Yeah.
Right? And then be realistic.
Yeah.
What do I want from 6 months from now, 1 year from now? What are what are the things that are going to happen that I'm not accounting for?
Yeah.
What schedule changes are going to take away workout days, or what timelines, what things for the family are going to make sure, like a factor that I can't have the nutrition I want this week.
Yeah.
Family vacation here, diet goes out the window.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a big one.
These things all matter, and you have to be okay with progress, not perfection. Right? I know everybody talks about that, or like the 80% rule. Like if I'm pretty good 80% of the time, that's a good habit.
Yeah.
It's not going to get me the 6 weeks shredded, but it's going to give me like 6 years from now, I'm going to feel a lot better.
Yeah.
And on that point, like we talked about this recently, like that's like for building habits and everybody that's like trying to make themselves better, that 80% is really the goal. Mm-hmm. I think, because like we were talking about in terms of like bodybuilders, there was no need to build the habits. Like that passion or whatever, that obsession for that particular thing was to such a degree that 100% is fine for them to do.
Sure.
But like, if I'm not naturally doing something, you're trying to create something, 100% is just unrealistic.
It's unrealistic. And then you get frustrated.
Yeah.
But again, if I screw up my schedule on Tuesday, and I know
it's a wash, the week's a wash.
Yeah, the whole week's a wash. Well, I've already screwed up. Like I didn't do my lunch, so I might as well have pizza and fast food for dinner.
Right.
Immediately. Instead of like, okay, just accept that one meal or that one missed workout, and then just continue right now. Like you can start again right now.
Yeah.
Like if I tried to quit energy drinks, like I just had this, well, I can start like after this.
Yeah. Immediately after.
Yes. I'm not going to go have 17 more of them because I opened that can of worms.
It's the slippery slope logical fallacy. It's like once you start to go, everything else is going to go.
No, just start over. Just keep going. If I'm all right, my new year, new me, and I mess up in week 2, I'm gung ho and I'm going to go 5 days a week. Like an idiot. I'm going to miss one day because I'm too sore.
I'm going to go against all the advice that's ever been given me.
Fine. Skip your day.
Yes.
Go back tomorrow.
Yes.
Right? Or cut the weights in half, do half-ass.
Yeah.
I'd almost rather you go in and just kind of half-ass something.
Yeah. Do an ab workout
than to skip it.
Yes.
Because you still made the habit of getting in the car or whatever, putting on your clothes and going and starting. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And the hardest piece, I guess, the hardest part of any fitness and goal setting is putting your feet on the ground once you get out of bed.
Yes.
Like once I could be tired, and I go through this with people who train at home gyms, like just put your clothes where you can see them, put your feet on the ground and just start.
Yeah.
Just go, just like go there.
Mm-hmm.
figure it out as you go, get warmed up as you go, but it's not going to be perfect. You're never going to be rested enough. It's never going to be ideal, but you have to just go down there, or go to the gym, go to wherever, go to your facility, just get started. Yeah. If you're like, God, today sucks, like everything hurts, go through the warm up. 15, 20 minutes, still sucks, go home. Yeah. Check the box. Like reevaluate what it means to have a successful day. Yeah. Is it 1 through 25, perfect? Sure. If it's, I got 1 through 5 and I feel like shit, check, done. Done. Yeah. Good with it. Yeah. Live again, live to train again.
Yep.
And that's the difference between that like more long-term view, right? Talking about like working with guys in the military where you're looking like maybe don't train this way because you're not going to be able to walk in 15 years as a result. Or the 0.5% adjustments that you're doing at an elite sporting event to try and eke out some advantage. But all of it comes down to like, what are you doing? How are you structuring it? And what do you want?
Right. Like you said, if you're looking at 30 training days in a month, let's say 20, right? Like 18 of those is giving you a 90%. You go 16, you're hitting that 80%, right? Yeah. So that's 4 days you totally missed. Yeah. And you are still hitting that 80%. Good. Yeah. Absolutely. Again.
And being happy with that.
Yeah. Stoked about it.
Be happy with that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Anything else anybody wants to add?
I have a question for you, if you don't mind. Like,
yes.
As you were doing that 8-week prep for your fighter, what things were you focusing on to run that conditioning or that fitness camp?
So both of them were a little bit different. The second time, the later one was, we got him heavier, like we got him stronger. We added more muscle mass. He didn't like to cut a ton of weight. Okay. So he fought at 155. I think we were like 173 was about the heaviest we were, 5 weeks out or something like that. But we knew that he had increased muscle mass from the previous fight. Mm-hmm. And so, our biggest thing was, we want to get stronger still, because that was our goal from fight 1 to fight 2, is he wanted to be stronger without adding the mass, right? Because that's huge for these guys to have to cut. Didn't want to get above 173. Like that was our top. Everything needs to stay below that. And so we built strength without getting bigger. Yeah. And it was through just lower volumes, higher intensities, a weight that he could hit for max 5, like we're hitting high effort stuff for 2s. Yeah. And getting the kind of the minimum amount of volume necessary for an adaptation. Yep. If you look at like the Prilipin chart, like there's windows of sets and reps or total rep ranges and certain intensities and percentages that would give you an adaptation. Yep. Let's be on the lower end. Yep. Right. Because you could be in this whole thing left to right spectrum. Let's be on the lower end. Yeah. Let's touch heavy stuff. Maybe even partials. Yeah. Right. Not going through full range of squats, not going through full range of bench, like whatever it may be. Yeah. But we're doing a really heavy stimulus. We're getting stronger. We're teaching the brain and body how to contract on a heavy weight, but we're not going to do the volumes, the total number of reps and sets that add up to more size. Right. But what we did realize is that he had more muscle mass, which muscle is going to hold a little bit more of that water. And so our water, like our cut, was like, we're this heavy. It was like, we know a lot of it's stored in the muscle. Yeah. And we actually had no problem cutting them down.
Interesting.
Yeah. So
that's good to know. Because usually when you see fight camps, you see light kettlebells flying around, airdyne bikes, right? Things like that. And
he was on the older side, early 30s, mid 30s, where it was like he didn't want to have to go do extra effort. Yeah. We did our Thursday in the UFC Apex training facility, or the UFC PI. And
out in Vegas.
Yeah. And does the whole thing. He gets a sweat going. We wrap him in towels. Yeah. And then it's just sweat, whatever, whether it's at the hotel or at the place, just sweat. Yeah. Got to maybe just a few pounds like that night. And then his big thing is he had a great routine. Setting stuff up in the tub. Yeah. Hot water with Epsom salt and this other cup of menthol. Yeah. And so he'd start with his feet, like to his calves. He'd get a little sweat going. He'd sit a little deeper. And he'd get a little deeper, like to his chest and shoulders. Yeah. And then he'd start really sweating. So he'd kind of back out. Yeah. And kind of got in and out of the tub, a handful of times. And just that amount of sweating just washed away that last 3 pounds. Wow. Woke up the next day. And he also did, I thought this was clever. He put the room temperature at 55. He wanted it cold. Yeah. So his body would shiver. Yeah. So it's also, again, when we're talking half pounds and fractions count, like you got to do some stuff. But that's a drastic life. Those guys who make those big weight cuts, it has long-term effects.
Yeah, I would never want to do it. That's fine.
I actually think so it's interesting that you said you were going heavier with him. John Jones going heavier his last 2 fights. I'll bet you see a swing and like trend for training for combat guys with more powerlifting integrated in.
Yeah, I think the idea of I need to train my sport really high intensity, Sean Shirk style, like just crazy here, but crazy over here. And everything's just hard. Like that hard is still the same as that hard. Like it's the same thing. And so,
I love hearing the guys with rules, right? Like GSP wouldn't ever wouldn't have a training session longer than a 5-round fight.
Yeah.
Wouldn't do it.
Why?
Yeah. He's like, that's max how long I have to fight. So that's the max.
Why would I go? Yep.
Yeah. It's interesting.
In and out, like max the intensity in and out. And like, it reminds me, like, it doesn't matter where you go. There's the different philosophies, like feed the cats, right? Like we're going to train distance runners like sprinters.
Mm-hmm. It all works.
Yeah. Right.
At the end of the day, it all works for the right people.
Having to do something, right?
Yep.
The key is having a plan and consistently executing.
Yeah. And not just jumping.
Right.
Yes.
Whatever those guys are sticking to, stick to it.
Yep.
I may not agree with it, but it's probably going to work.
Yep.
Right. And they may not agree with me, but it's probably going to work.
Yep.
So.
And they probably have a coach that's working with them, that's giving them the things they need.
Right.
And that's the huge, huge piece.
Yeah.
I appreciate you coming on, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, like all your experience and everything, but like incredibly smart, but one of the, not just smoke, but like one of the best people I know and definitely one of the best people in the industry. So I appreciate you coming on.
Where can people find you?
Yep. So
don't give them your address.
Yeah. Instagram at Ronan Sport Performance. Personal accounts C Pearson 42 or at C Pearson 42, Chad Pearson. Mm-hmm. The website RonanSportPerformance.com. YouTube. I guess I have a YouTube.
You do.
I don't know how many videos that he even has. I don't.
It was I saw some cone drills on there.
I'm so bad with YouTube. I have some stuff on my personal, but that's it. Reach out. My Instagram, I've gotten away. Let's go to another caveat. You guys ready?
I'm ready.
A couple of years ago, I decided if I'm going to make content, this was I need to have the perfect footage because all these other strength coaches are going to be judging me. It's going to be the full thing, the perfect angle because, they need to know how good I am. Mm-hmm. So I'm doing this right. And I was like, this is so dumb. They're not buying, they're not buying my shit. Why do I care what these other strength coaches think? So you've probably seen even more so the last, 6 months, my Instagram, my social media has gone to much more. It's whatever. This sounds fun.
I like it.
This is topical. This is fun. My bare ass was on there. that was pretty good. I had people ask if that was real life or AI. So
if it was AI,
it was a huge compliment. But I try to keep my. I don't. Yeah. My life.
Interesting question.
Yeah.
No way, juicy cheese that real. No way.
My life is. I live too good of a life to be serious all the time about my day job. And it's I'm passionate about what I do with people, but at the same time, I just want to be happy and live a fun life, and so that's kind of reflected in my social media nowadays. Yeah.
We struggle with that same thing with Instagram. We both hate it, and we've gotten to a point where we're just dude, let's just put up what we like and what's convenient, and what can drive people to the podcast. Trying to make it perfect is exhausting. Yeah,
and Zach's on my well, I don't know what kind of list I would call it, but there's 3 guys that I send all my inappropriate memes to, and I'm pretty sure those same 3 guys send them all to me as well. Yeah. And we have this basically, it's just 3 totally different worlds of people that exist in my life.
Yeah,
but that's definitely a place for me to get unhinged.
Somebody sent me something the other day that was if I die, don't delete my browsing history. Get rid of the group chat.
It'd be similar.
Get rid of that thing immediately.
Well, cool, Chad. We appreciate you so much. Glad to know people can find you. If you guys are looking for a coach, right, and you want to be a part of it, that Ronan Sport Performance Group sounds like
would be a great thing to do.
A great thing to do. And you're looking at 2025, and you're setting new fitness goals, and you're a new year, new you. Remember, take it slow, and we always recommend investing in a coach, right? A coach with experience, right? Some fitness influencers have experience, but there's a huge difference between someone who looks good and can post it on Instagram and someone who has experience working with a wide scope of individuals for different goals.
You just heard why, right?
That's
like
right.
Chad going into talking about this, that, and how he's approaching it. That is why.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. So invest in a good coach if it matters to you. Yeah.
Well, thank you guys for having me on for an
Yeah.
opportunity to talk about myself and my business, and you guys are great. Thank you very much.
We'll have to do it again.
Yeah, we'll do it again.
Yeah.
Peace out, guys.
Thanks.
See you next time.
All right.
I have to pee so bad.
It's right there.